with Gloucester football coach Tony Zerilli now in our pregame talk and really our football preview show. Coach, first of all, congratulations last week, big win. What does it do carrying over now into the Classical game? Both teams 3-0, and we'll talk a little bit about the league later, but huge game coming up this weekend.
Oh, it's a tremendous game coming up. Classical's a great football team, tough offensively and defensively. Again, another dual threat quarterback. Really makes his offensive go. So looking for a challenge. I think it's going to be a good game. Both teams 3-0. I know there's huge ramifications for playoff points and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a rivalry game. Classical always plays us tough. We always play them tough. So I think it always comes down to the last possession usually. So looking for the same thing.
Coach, I go back to a game when you first became head coach.
No, don't do that.
No, but what I want to point out is the good stuff, because the kids, it was a terrible first half.
Yeah.
But since that second half on, for 6.5 years plus now, you've got it. I mean, the kids, they've got what you want them to do.
Yeah, that first 2 years, to be honest with you, as a head coach, even though you've coached before as an assistant coach, huge learning curve. Mm-hmm. Huge difference between being an assistant coach and being responsible for the defense to being responsible for everything from, daily activities to what they do in the building to, planning everything out. So, the first couple of years were tough, but, I think that, especially against Classical, you want to be consistent, you want to be disciplined, you want to play by, your rules on offense and defense, and keep attacking them. And I think that's what we do well, especially the last couple of years here. I think you get your kind of mentality or your kind of coaching style stamped on the team year 3, year 4, and then going on from there. So I think we've been doing a pretty good job here. I got great assistant coaches that help me out, and I think to be 3-0 this year, to keep rolling after a pretty good year last year, and reloading. That's what we try to do every year.
What do you see that Coach Vaughn brings to Lynn Classical? Because it's his first year as head coach, but boy, does he know football.
Oh, he knows football, and he's a football guy. Offensively, he's doing a lot of things differently than they've done in the past. I coached with Coach Walsh the last couple of years, and he coached with Coach Vaughn over at Pope John before I think they disbanded their program over there due to numbers. But one thing Coach Walsh always said: the guy knows football. He knows what he's doing. He's a good coach. He's got great assistant coaches with him, and I think it shows. To be 3-0 in the Northeast Conference as a rookie head coach in the conference, I think it shows.
One thing, last thing I'll mention about Lynn Classical, Coach, is against Somerville, you got off to, I don't want to say a slow start, but
you can say it was a slow start.
It was a rugged first half, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Mistakes.
But you can't do that against Lynn Classical, I wouldn't think.
No, and that's something, the last 2 weeks, to be quite honest with you, the first half has been sloppy. And it's something we need to correct moving forward, not only for Classical, but for the rest of the season into the playoffs. You can't make those mistakes. Can't fumble the football, can't throw interceptions, can't go off sides on 3rd and 8 and give them a free 5 yards, and then they pick up 4 yards on 3rd down and off on first down rather than the 4th down. Can't do those things, and we need to be better at that, and we work on those things, and we work on discipline and staying on sides and not jumping the snap and not leaning on offense and a thousand different things we work on. But we got to cut down on those mistakes.
All right, well, good luck with Classical.
Thank you.
Now, you talk about some of those mistakes, Coach. I know you don't make excuses, but can some of that be attributed to the fact that these guys really are still learning the positions as varsity players?
No. I think some of the mistakes we make, yes. The mistakes that really drive coaches nuts are, jumping off sides on defense and false starts on offense. You can deal with the holdings. You can deal with, even some of the blocks in the backs. Anything that's an aggressive type of penalty, they're trying to do their job, they're trying to make a play. I don't, you watch them in film and you tell them how, what you can and can't do and what the rules are. It's the mental mistakes, the mental miscues that just drive a coach nuts. And that's jumping off sides, and that's, you get D tackles, the ball's, a foot from their face and they're jumping off sides. And you just got to make sure that, that they understand that that's not acceptable, that they can't do it. And, we play that style of defense where we're go, 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 and sometimes that comes back to bite us, but you just got to be better at that. You got to watch that ball, you got to know what the other team's trying to do, that they're trying to draw you offsides, and be a little bit more disciplined.
Look to me like you have a team of character in that at the end of the first half, 29 seconds left to go,
Yeah.
and Somerville goes out in front 14-6.
Yeah.
You run the ball back to the 35. Next play, you call a play that I don't know if I've seen it all year, but you rip off a 65-yarder, and
Yeah.
that seemed to me to be a key point in the game.
Yeah, and it was a huge play. Get the momentum swung back in our direction. That and then the 2-point conversion to tie the game up was a big momentum swing. Then knowing we're getting the ball back in the second half. Those three things combined really changed the complexion of the game. And, Penny Ortiz, who hasn't played this year, just coming back in the third game, that was a big run by him. He had a big night. We had Mark Smith out, so to have him come in and kind of play another role, it was great. And I think, this week getting both those guys back on the field together is going to be huge for us.
2 players over 100 yards, plus quarterback Smith almost at 100.
Yeah.
You got to have the line involved there somehow. They must have been doing something good.
Oh, absolutely. And coming off last year where, everybody knew Christian Sanfilippo, who's a big part of Gloucester history now, broke a lot of records. And coming off that year where I felt like we started to become one-dimensional. Last year, I felt like going into this offseason, we started to put the game plan together with my offensive assistants, and we said, that's not going to happen this year. We're going to have 4 primary ball handlers. They're all going to carry the load equally, and I think we've kind of established that the first 3 games. If you take away the running back plays, we're going to hit you with a wing back, or we're going to hit you with a fullback, or Matt Smith at QB is going to keep the ball. And that's what we wanted to establish. We wanted to be multidimensional. We wanted to have 4 guys carrying the ball at any given moment, and that's where the wing T really flourishes. You can't key on one guy. It's not like the eye where you can key on the running back. You got 4 backs all taking it in different directions on one given play, and one of them's got the ball and the other 3 don't.
Mm-hmm. Coach, our final thought for me, our player of the week this week is Matt Smith, and Coach Ingram upstairs with us was mentioning his poise and his decision-making ability. I was impressed. He got 2 touchdowns, 20 points, 14 points scored, I believe, but boy, he played a good game on defense, didn't he?
I was just going to say that. I think defensively, he's more important to this team. Just the way his presence, and Somerville had a big play in the middle of the field. It was 4th down, and I think they needed 4 yards. And Matt came up from 10 yards from his safety position and stuck the kid in the hole, chest to chest, and drove him back. And Somerville's running back always falls forward. He never falls back. He always falls forward. But when Matt hit him, yards short of that first down and drove him back 2 yards. That's the kind of play that Matt can make that I don't see being made by many high school kids in the secondary. He's solid, he's rugged, he's athletic, he's one of the fastest and strongest kids on this team. The kid is a football player through and through. He's not just a quarterback. He's a football player. So I'm glad you gave him Player of the Week because he deserved it for not just for this week, but for last week against Beverly as well. Kid makes big plays all over the field, and we watched film yesterday, and I pointed out some of the tackles he made. Showed the other secondary guys, hey, look, this is how you got to tackle. This is how you got to make your presence known on the defensive side of the ball. And I thought he played, incredible on Friday night.
Terrific. Final thought on the conference, Coach. Going into this weekend, 7 teams in the NEC. There hasn't been a lot of crossover in the NEC.
Undefeated.
7 teams. Yep.
I know. It just goes to show you. And Northeast Conference is filled with good football schools, right? Good coaches, good kids, know how to play football, tough football. And I know in the first couple of weeks there's been a lot of crossovers with other leagues, and it just goes to show you that Northeast Conference is a good football conference, and I don't think it always gets the credit it's due.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. I know. 7-3-0 teams.